Alright, so I just wanted to show you guys that this is in fact a 2-wire solution here. This switch is the GE switch, which has just 2 wires connected, which is just 1 pole. I'm trying to push this out of the way here so you can see it. And so there's the 2 poles right there, and I can tell you that this one is the hot one on the top here, and this is the cold one down here on the bottom, which is the switched one. This switch is currently off. This is on a different circuit, so nobody freak out. But they are cloth wires, and it is a 2-pole solution with no ground. So there's no neutral wire, and there's actually no ground either. It's just the hot wire coming in on the top and the switched wire going out on the bottom. And that's it. And as you can see, the blue light is on, which indicates that this is energized. All right, so I'm going to put this back, and I'm going to show you the lights, and we'll go from there. Here are the 4 bulbs that we're going to be testing out today. This is your typical 60-watt incandescent bulb. This is a typical CFL bulb. I think it runs at 14 watts, but it produces the equivalent of about 60 watts or something like that. This is a dimmable CFL, similar in that it outputs about, I think, about 100 watts. But it actually only consumes about 26 or something equivalent to that. And this is the dimmable LED, which is a Philips. It's not a Philips Hue, it's just a dimmable LED. Again, I think it consumes about 11 watts and it outputs the equivalent of about 60 watts. So we're going to try each one of these out and we're going to see how they work. Alright, so we'll start with the incandescent bulb. And this worked actually exactly as it's advertised. The switch is designed for incandescent bulbs, so you see as we screw it in here, the switch is energized properly, and we're able to turn it on to 100%, 50%, and 0, just as it's supposed to work. So you'll see in our setup here we have a microphone attached to the light, which is designed to give us the noise that the light is producing. And then I have another microphone pointed towards the switch, because some people are complaining that it does have a small amount of buzzing within the switch. Very, very small amount. You can only really hear it if you're right up next to it. So here it is with the iPhone. We're just trying out different ranges of dimness here to give you an idea of the sound and the quality of the light output. Okay, this is the typical CFL bulb. This did not perform very well as expected. There's a lot of flickering at all levels. When we plugged it in, it did energize the switch, which was a good sign. However, when we turned it on, as you can see, there's a lot of flickering. There's also a little bit of noise produced. Overall, just a bad experience with the typical CFL bulb. Didn't respond very well to switches, didn't respond very well to dimming through the Casa Verde. So unfortunately, typical CFL bulbs are no good. Okay, here is the dimmable CFL. This actually performed much better than the typical CFL, but it still had some flickering issues and it wasn't fully reliable. So if we plug it in, you can see that it does energize the switch. So you can see if we turn it on here, it will start to flicker. Now the flickering here is not nearly as bad as the typical CFL. So it seemed like at 100% we could get it to work without a flicker, and there were certain other places along the dimming slider that we could get it to work. But overall, most of the dimming capabilities would not work with the dimmable CFL. It did produce some noise when it was dimmed, but it was very little. So unfortunately, the CFL did fairly well, but it didn't completely pass the test. And the last one we have is the Philips dimmable LED. After the incandescent, this one actually performed the best. And you see if we plug it in, the switch is energized, and pretty much every level that we tested, it worked properly. There was a very low amount of noise coming from the bulb and from the switch, but overall, not that noticeable.